Well, folks. Welcome to another edition of Rimshots with Sean, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk. Treat for you here tonight, some homegrown. Oh, coming right through the screen at us. She's that excited for this interview. We've been, power challenge or whatever, but here we are. We have the ladies from Brigid, who I met, I guess, a couple Thursdays ago down at the Lighthouse. How are we doing tonight?
Good. We've got power back.
Yeah.
You get your power. I got a friend down there that still doesn't have power, so I guess consider yourselves lucky. That's awesome.
Yeah, truth.
So I guess just to I met you guys at my friend Heather did an event at the Lighthouse. It was for the ultimate Nova Scotia kitchen party. A whole bunch of bands. I believe there was 3 or 4 acts that were on the night that you guys are there. Tell us, I guess, how long you guys have been doing what you're doing, just so that the viewers can kind of get a flavor.
So since 2018, we did a concert together that was intended to be a one-off. And of the 5 people who did that initial concert, the 3 of us were the ones in the same sort of demographic age-wise. Found it really easy to find harmonies together, make music together. It felt very natural. And Beth wrote our first original song for that very first show we did. Yeah. So when we went to build that song out, we found it was really easy to go, I know where my voice fits in this particular trio of voices. So we decided to put on a Christmas show and then another show after that. And they kept on coming. And eventually we thought we might have something special here.
Yeah. So when I saw your show, I think it was 2 Thursdays ago. I'm not used to seeing acts
because it was recycling day, and it's recycling day again.
There you go. Well, that's good. That's good. I'm not used to seeing acts with harmonies, I guess, to the extent. Now, I play in a band where we have, big harmonies, but for the most part, you get 1, maybe 2 other voices. It sounds like you guys have practiced what you've been doing for a long, long time. Does it just come naturally, or is there a lot of work to it?
I'm glad it sounds that way. I mean, we do practice, but because we love it. But it is something that we've all inherently always done and gravitated to. And when we started singing together, I think that's what makes us stand out a little bit is just a lot of harmonies all the time. And even in our new album, there's 3 voices, but the magic of recording, you can layer on top of that. So at times there's 5 or 6 voices kind of happening at the same time. So we love to sing it. We love to hear it. Yeah. There was another group that night that had beautiful female harmonies, and we were hooting and hollering from the audience.
Yeah.
I guess shame on me because I did the band intro, but I didn't introduce you guys. And all the running joke that night was I went to you beforehand and said, "Is this how you pronounce your name?" And I got it right the first time. But I'm going to allow you to introduce yourselves to my audience. So away we go. Who do we have here?
So we are Brigid. My name is Beth Terry. In the center, we have Sarah Glinz. And to my left is Emma Smit-Geraghty.
Right. And I'm glad I practiced that before I went up, because I did get it right the second time, which sometimes doesn't happen. So you guys, I keep saying you ladies played that night. And there was a bit of a competition. Sometimes people don't like competition. Sometimes people do. You won that night, and I believe there's some recording time or something that's entitled to that. Why don't you talk about that? Because I didn't even know until about 5 minutes before that was up for grabs.
Do you want me to take that one?
You take that one.
I'll take that one. So the winner of the evening actually got a day in the studio at the Lighthouse. We haven't gotten all the details of that yet, but we're looking forward to it. We did just release the album, and we've done a music video, so we've got big plans. So it's great to have a whole day in the studio at their brand new facility. So stay tuned for kind of what comes of that.
Fantastic. One of the things, so it was interesting because I know there was a number of nights. I think there was 4 or 5 different nights, and there's a lot of acts that I saw on the bill I had never heard of before, which was pretty cool. And so it really seems like there's been a theme in our show. The people that kind of sat on their rears and didn't do a whole heck of a lot aren't the benefactors right now of all the activity that's going on. You ladies obviously did some work while things were off, and it's working out for you.
Yeah, we actually took COVID as a time to kind of this redo or to change the direction we were going. Because originally when we did get together and do these concerts in the beginning, we were doing our own versions of really great covers, really good songs. And I write, and my husband, who's the lead guitarist for the group, he writes as well. Emma writes quite a bit as well with music. And so when COVID shut us down, we realized we had a lot of time on our hands. So we continued to practice when we could together, whether it was over Zoom or, you know, we'd be on the phone together, just talking about different things. When we were able to finally get back together, we kind of brought it to the table of, you know, now is our chance. If we're going to do something, we all clearly have a desire for something more, to create our own sound and our own music that really highlights our harmonies and our voices together. If there's ever a chance to do it, now's the time. And it worked out.
Well, and I gotta say too, in December of 2019, I was 7.5 months pregnant. So right after we finished our Christmas concert that year, we got together and had a little brainstorm session of where do we see ourselves going. And I just found that journal entry a couple of days ago. But, you know, in what's our 1-year plan, what's our 2-year plan, what's our 5-year plan, 10-year plan. And we had record an album of original music, ECMAs, Junos, like we had the whole list. Oh, yeah. And then 2 months later, we found ourselves in lockdown going, well, I guess we have no excuse left now, but to sort of start working on making these things happen.
Well, but you say that, and I can't stress enough, there's a lot of people that I know that either they were mad and chose to not do anything, or they were lazy and chose to not do anything. Myself, I practice 2-3 hours a day. You know, this show started out of the lockdown. I mean, it's just, what do I do? I'm going to go talk to my music friends, and here we are 2.5 years later, to the point where the first show that I did when we came back, a friend of mine came up to me. He said, "There's 10 drummers in the audience," and I'm like, "I got their $10. They can leave anytime they want." I wasn't the least bit nervous about what was going to happen. Did you guys? Pardon me.
No,
Ladies, did you find that, you know, when you got back out there again and you were doing it, because you put that woodshedding time in, you had that little bit of, you know, more confidence than you would have had before?
I think so. I mean, when everything shut down, like you said, some people were mad and just like kind of gave it up, or for whatever reason. We're all very busy women. We have busy families. We have very busy careers. Up until COVID, you know, we were out 6 nights a week directing choirs, teaching dance classes, getting our kids to different activities. So when COVID happened, life stopped. Which was fine for a couple weeks. The novelty, you know, it's like, oh, I can actually like sit back and, you know, read a book. But then you're like, okay, we need something. Like, music is such a part of our lives. We need to find a way to make this happen, regardless of the situation around the world. So like we said, we were writing, we were sending each other lyrics and music. We were getting on FaceTime and Zoom. We had rehearsals in this room. Spread out 10 feet apart with our masks on, not singing, just talking, you know, just to get together. So and as soon as we were able to safely sing, I mean, we all had small infants.
Not me.
Except for me.
So we had to be careful.
Just thinking of that, I found out, so I had my baby in February of 2020, and then we found out that Sarah was going to have a baby on a Zoom meeting together, because we hadn't had a chance to get together in person.
True.
And then they found out about my next pregnancy on another Zoom meeting, because we still hadn't had a chance to get to bed.
And what are you going to do when you're locked down, right? You either play music or do other stuff.
That's all the time.
Literally, there was a meme going around on Facebook for a while. It was like, if you didn't have a baby, get a puppy or an air fryer during COVID, you win. And I was like, I had all three.
I was the only one who won that bet. So.
There you go. Well, hey, you know, you gotta soldier on. So, you know, back to what I was saying about the, because you said earlier you've been playing since 2018. Not a lot of time. I mean, that's 2 years, but you know, you guys are fairly, I guess, new at it at that point. You get busy schedules. I guess you're just ramping up to play, and then all of a sudden, everything just collapses, right? How many shows, I guess, had you got into that point before everything kind of was put on pause?
How many shows?
Christmas, Mother's Day.
I think at that point, we had probably had Yeah, I was going to say 5 to 7 shows under our belt.
Like gigs and stuff.
Yeah, like we were doing big performances or shows, and because we're managing ourselves, we don't have any representation as yet. We have been orchestrating all of that. So doing our posters, doing our social media, setting up these events and venues. We did do some smaller events at golf courses or at a brewery, at a fundraiser event for the town. We had smaller events like that we performed at, but I think we had 5 to 7 really big shows under our belt at that point, with 4 more planned within that 2020 year. And we were just getting ready to roll into our first of the 4 shows. COVID stopped us.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, it you know, every time Dr. Strang and the Premier did another press, I was getting tired of them, to be perfectly honest with you. And every time was like, okay, what's going to happen next? What are they going to pull out now? And what's going to happen? And it started going up and up and up. And then around Christmas time of 2020, guess 2021 going, or 2020 going to 2021, they shut everything down for New Year's. I remember this very well. And that was all planned because they didn't want people to go out. It just seemed like there's this topsy-turvy. We're up, we're down, we're happy, we're sad. And I think that's when people really started, maybe the ones that were losing faith. If you didn't have faith at that point, man, it was gone. And if you had very little faith, it was waning. What was your feeling there when that was taking place?
I think we kept pretty strong. Because we had young families, we were focused on, and because all of us work with children in some capacity, whether it's teaching them one-on-one or in group theater or dance programs, choirs. We were ultimately thinking of the overall safety of not only the children, but maybe those who are more vulnerable within our community and within our own families. So it was a bummer for sure, but we really, I guess we kind of took it on the chin and we went, you know what, it's not going to stop us.
Yep.
And we'll just roll through it. It was never even a question of how is this going to affect us? It was just like, okay, it's on pause for now. And I think maybe a lot of that, I can speak like from my own personal point of view. I'm later to the game jumping into music because I had my family really young. So it was never, I guess that's past now, or I guess I won't get to do that. It was just on pause. So it was like, okay, if it's on pause for a little bit longer, that's no big deal because I know where I'm going to go. So it didn't even cross our minds to quit or to give up. We just were like, okay, let's reshift and carry on. It was, I think that's overall how we all felt.
And that season that you were talking about, that I think it was 2020 rolling into 2021. Well, we hadn't planned any live events that Christmas. Our Christmas shows are really special to us.
Yeah.
So having to miss that. So we had actually planned a virtual Christmas show that year. We recorded it, we edited it, and we did a live YouTube premiere. So that's actually on YouTube. So that was our Christmas plan. And even the following year, 21 rolling into 22, I mean, things were pretty open then.
Yep.
And they shut everything down again, because I think there was a rise in COVID. I can't remember the exact date, but I think it was right after our show. We had
just got our show in and then it all shut down.
We did our show earlier in December that reason because Emma was again pregnant. So she was
What are we going to do with you, Emma?
I know.
I was due, well, we picked the date when I thought I was due on December 27th. And then I found out I was due on December 18th. And then as we're nearing our show date of December 8th, I was going, guys, this thing is not staying in there. We are not making it to the 18th.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, if we had the show December 8th and he was born December 11th.
Yeah.
So was that a boy or a girl that you had?
Again on like the 10th.
The second one was a boy.
Okay. So if they ever go into hockey, because I was in hockey for years, you're going to hear the term bad birthday. And that'll make a whole lot of sense to you later on. Just before we wrap this segment, question that I had, and Sarah, you had mentioned, the YouTube piece that you did. Have you guys got to the point where people are recognizing you maybe from shows or YouTube? And I'll give you an example. I was just out before I came to do this interview, and this guy's looking at me and he goes, I know you from somewhere. And I usually get Julian from the Trailer Park Boys or, you know, whatever. But anyway, he goes, it's Sean, right? Yeah. And I said, Sean McKennedy. He goes, oh, you're that famous guy from Dartmouth that does Barstools. And I've seen you. Anyway, it was really funny. And so I guess, you know, you always got to be on your toes and be nice and whatever. Are you getting that?
I have
happening for you yet?
I have the worst example of that, I think, which is that like a month ago, my husband and I, we adopted 2 baby bunnies in 2014. And for the first time, one of them got sick and he had to be put down a month ago. And so we took him to the vet, and it was a vet we hadn't had before. And she checked him over, said, yeah, this is it, guys. I'm so sorry. By the way, I love your concerts. And it was like, not now.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, it's happening.
Yeah.
So here's the one piece of advice I will give you on that is that, and I heard it for years, people will come up and talk to you, and most of them are polite, but they just think that your time is their time. And so you have to sometimes really be polite, and sometimes it takes every little bit out of you that you can, but it's worth it because these are the folks that are, you know, giving the likes and buying the CDs and what have you. Right. So.
Yeah, it was just an odd moment of, oh yeah, I have a life outside of this room, when everything sort of became so centralized to this one moment with me and my family. And then to hear that feedback, it was like, oh, right. Yeah.
You know what? It always,
like, life has existed before this, and it is going to exist after this moment.
It always feels good though, right? It doesn't matter what happens when somebody says, I saw you guys, you're great. It always feels good.
So good.
So you know what? We're going to come back for segment 2 after this. We have the lovely ladies from Brigid, all the way from the Mecca of Truro, that finally get their power back on. We're excited about that. Back after this.